Good afternoon from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning, and I want to remind you tonight, it's our winter fundraising drive. We could not deliver this reporting without listeners like you. All of KUOW's work is community-funded and people-powered. If you're able to help out with a tax-deductible end-of-year gift, maybe a $200 end-of-year gift or something like $5 a month, click the link in the show notes, and thank you so much. Now on to the news. It's Thursday, December 18th. If you're at your own home with the lights on tonight, it's a good thing to be grateful for. Hundreds of families across Washington state have had to leave their homes because of catastrophic river flooding. Some are finding refuge at emergency shelters. Casey Martin takes us to one in Auburn.
Giovanni Burke just turned 8 years old this month, though he can't always remember what day exactly.
My birthday.
What day was it?
December 6th.
December 6th.
His mom, Ashana, helps him out. She has two sons. The three of them are sleeping at a Red Cross shelter about an hour south of Seattle. Earlier this week, they evacuated their apartment, along with hundreds of other people in the area, because of flooding rivers.
My landlord just knocked on the door and just said, "Oh, you guys need to leave now because you have kids." So we just left.
The three of them are sleeping in a large gym inside a community center with about 80 other people. The shelter has room for hundreds more during the day, and there are a lot of parents here. About half of the people in the shelter are kids, including a 6-week-old.
Some family have 5 kids, we have newborns in there. They're just trying to get cribs and all kinds of diapers and supplies.
Joy Austin came to the shelter last week when the floodwater started to creep toward her doorstep. There are 10 shelters like this in Washington right now. They opened last week when multiple rivers flooded, some setting new records. South of Seattle, county officials say 2 flood barriers failed, pouring water into neighborhoods. The Red Cross says so far more than 1,100 people have checked into one of these shelters. Austin says parents are getting hit the hardest.
They're worrying about Christmas coming up and just how you're just going to make ends meet and not knowing what you're going to go back home to, if you're even going to have a home.
Austin has kids too, but she sent them to stay with family before the floods hit. Now she's trying to find a way to get to them and figure out where they'll go next. That's a problem for hundreds of families in the state, where the rain is still coming down. For NPR News, I'm Casey Martin, south of Seattle.
Meanwhile, the largest emergency shelter for people displaced by flooding is the Evergreen State Fairgrounds in Snohomish County. Many current residents have been there since the shelter first opened December 9th.
There are so many moms that know all of the different kids. They know each of the kids' different allergies, which I was shocked by. And so it is becoming more of a family here.
That's Kristen Goodwillie, a spokesperson for the American Red Cross. She says there are 63 people, including infants and children, in the 4-H building at the fairgrounds. Goodwillie says the shelter has specialized mental health care available for children. Amazon and the nonprofit Save the Children have also donated toys and craft materials for the shelters, including holiday gifts for kids. The lights have come back on for hundreds of thousands of people around Western Washington, but at this hour, 4 p.m., still 40,000 homes and offices do not have power in Western Washington. There's just a handful in Seattle and a couple hundred in Tacoma, but most outages, 28,000, are within Puget Sound Energy's service areas. PSE says as crews work through neighborhoods, they're discovering additional damage that must be repaired. They say if you receive a power restored notification but are still without power, report the outage again. Another 8,000 are in the dark within Snohomish County PUD. The district says crews and mutual aid assistance are currently focused on the hardest hit areas: Camano Island, Stanwood, Snohomish, Arlington, and Granite Falls. Forecasters are bracing for more issues with a wind advisory until 7 for parts of King, Pierce, and Thurston counties tonight, and 11 p.m. for Island, San Juan, and parts of Snohomish, Skagit, and Whatcom counties. Many farmers in Western Washington are bracing for potentially more flooding in the coming days with more rain in the forecast. Ryan Lichteneiger is a vegetable and grain grower in the Snoqualmie River Valley. He says a significant amount of kale, collards, and other type of greens were damaged in this week's flood. Many of next year's crops are gone, too.
We lost about 5,000 plants of garlic and about 3,000 plants of shallot.
In addition to crop losses, there are major cleanups ahead of them.
There's a lot of debris that comes from upriver, and not necessarily from farms, but from houses and businesses and other places that don't expect to be flooded. We have fence lines that are full of debris, everything from tires to plastic buckets and refrigerators.
Thousands of Washington residents are still under evacuation orders due to flooding. We'll have more on how farms are faring in a few minutes. Flu season is just beginning, and already 3 people have died in Washington state. All 3 were older than 65. Eilish O'Neill has more.
Older adults are most vulnerable to getting hospitalized or dying from the flu, but kids are also susceptible, especially babies and toddlers under 2 years old. And last year was the worst on record for pediatric flu deaths. Dr. Sandra Valenciano is King County's new health officer.
And of those pediatric deaths related to flu, 89% of the kids were not fully vaccinated.
Valenciano says kids under 8 need 2 shots spaced a month apart the first time they get the flu vaccine. Babies under 6 months old are not yet eligible for the vaccine and can only be protected by their mom getting vaccinated during pregnancy and the people around them getting the shot. Eilish O'Neill, KUOW News.
We're getting a look at the number of people ICE agents have arrested in recent months. Data from the Deportation Data Project shows approximately 2,000 people in Washington have been arrested so far this year. By comparison, that's more than double the immigration arrests last year. Only 31% of them had criminal convictions, according to the Washington State Standard. When the governor's not touring flooded areas this week, he's zeroed in on getting a budget proposal out, and it's big on housing. Today, Governor Bob Ferguson said he's making housing his primary long-term focus, and he signed an executive order today to establish a state cabinet-level Department of Housing.
The idea of a separate agency devoted to housing is one I feel strongly about. When I ran for governor, I focused on that. My philosophy is you got a crisis, act like it's a crisis, and have dedicated folks that is their job, to create more housing. That is their sole job. That's their focus, is important.
Ferguson added $244 million to grow and improve housing stock in his supplemental budget. That includes $50 million for the state's Housing Trust Fund.
And this investment covers rehabilitation and repairs for affordable homes. My team and I have expanded the terms of this program just in the last week to include repairs for flood-damaged homes.
The governor also promised to fast-track legislation for grants to low-income rural homeowners to fix flood damage. And in sports, a couple notes. It was a thriller last night at the Seattle Torrent game. The professional women's hockey team beat Ottawa 3-1 at home at Climate Pledge Arena. Tonight, the Seattle Seahawks are playing the LA Rams at Lumen Field. It's a game with huge implications for the Seahawks. If they win, they'll take over first place in the NFC West and clinch a spot in the playoffs. The Hawks and Rams are tied atop the division. Expect some heavy traffic and full trains in Seattle before the 5:15 kickoff. And before we go, we're touching base with our local vegetable growers. Farmers near the Green River in South King County say the flooding they've experienced is unlike anything in recent memory. Now the water's receding and the work ahead overwhelming. Amy Radel has more.
At Whistling Train Farm between Kent and Auburn, Shelley Pascoe raises vegetables like leeks, squash, and kale, plus cut flowers. But now her 15 acres are underwater. Pascoe says in 25 years, the buildings never flooded there until last Saturday.
And then when we came outside, there was water up to the house. And we could watch it rising. It was going so fast.
She fled in a panic. 5 days later, she's thrilled to find her missing cat, but she's also calculating the damage from days of standing water. Seeds and fertilizer destroyed, a tractor that's been submerged.
There's just going to be so much work to get everything cleaned up. And we have to clean and drain and oil all the machinery.
Her tiny house was under construction. Now she has to tear out the drywall and flooring. She's heard you can freeze wet books to keep them from getting moldy.
And my friend has a whole freezer that's empty, and so we're just going to stuff it with soggy books.
Pasco doesn't have flood insurance. As she starts her work, volunteers from the Federal Emergency Management Agency or FEMA come by doing damage assessments. She's hoping that means some financial help with all this cleanup. Amy Radel, KUOW News.
Next time on Seattle Now, we'll talk about the Strangers' December complaints issue. Is it healthy to complain about the city you live in?
That shows that you care. Yeah. And if you're committed to that and you're committed to the solution, I'm a pro complainer.
I'm going to complain because I don't want to move. Yeah. Do I have complaints? Yes, I do.
Hear more tomorrow morning. That's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Thanks to those of you that have donated to KUOW this week. We'll see you tomorrow.